I don't work there anymore. My employer decided to convert all of a certain class of our records from paper-based files to digital. There were 3 immediate problems. Our company was not going to buy a generic system, but develop our own unique, tailored system. It was to be done on the cheap, with net savings for record keeping from year 1. The guy in charge, let's call him Genius, always, and I mean always, thought he was the smartest guy in room. Believe me, he wasn't. Anyway, one of the girls I worked with took on the project on the condition that she could have the next July off for her wedding and honeymoon. She worked hard, and the project was actually making progress. One of her duties was passwords, none of which could be written anywhere because Genius knew this was bad. She periodically reminded Genius about the July wedding and he told her it'd be fine, but never signed off the paperwork. Come mid-May, the project is way behind, mainly because Genius told management it could all be done in-house at negligible cost, and Genius kept changing the design every time he read a new magazine article on it. My friend was then told 6 weeks out from the wedding that her leave was cancelled. The project took priority and she'd just have to reschedule her wedding, honeymoon, the works. Genius could not see that this might be a problem. So, she did her job, updated the passwords as required, never recording them anywhere, as required, and resigned without notice the last day of June. On her honeymoon she gets a frantic call from Genius demanding all the passwords. Sorry, I don't work there anymore. Click. That's why a decade later our company still has a few hundred electronic case files we can't access. Now to the comments. Changes project expectations every week. What do you mean it's not done yet? That's it. We need to have a 90-minute meeting every day to discuss why you aren't getting anything done. Did we work together around 1991 or so? As a manager, if you were the smartest guy in the room, you hired the wrong staff. I'm stealing this. I've had a pretty good 30 years in IT management. I always make sure I surround myself with brilliance and look after them accordingly. Lots of my people have followed me from job to job. It makes my life easier and also makes me proud that staff are willing to work with me over and over again. The secret is, if you know you hired people smarter than you, listen to them and make sure they are comfortable telling you that you are wrong. It can save a lot of There was even a time several years ago when I was offered a promotion and turned it down in favor of one of my staff who was much better suited. I actually trained and developed a guy to become my boss. I hope she had an amazing honeymoon. She had sex like a genius. I think you mean she had sex with her spouse, and ducked over the genius. The worst part of this story was that she had to leave Ridge doing such a horrible additional task in order to get her vacation in the first place. I mean, it sounds like she asked a full year in advance. It doesn't make sense to me how she could be denied. Paperwork securing said leave was never signed. It was all verbal promises, which are worth jack squat. My boss does this a lot. HR recently changed it so that vacation requests have to be to her at least 2 weeks in advance. So we will know at least 2 weeks ahead of time if we are going to be okay. But my boss likes to hold on to the vacation requests till the last minute. There were times before where an employee would ask for a day off a month or 2 ahead of time, hand her their vacation request and she would take it and just set it on her desk. You'd have to pester her about it because on more than one occasion she would wait till the day before to say never mind, you can't have it off. This caused considerable problems for an ex-co-worker since she had kids and would need to take a day off here and there to deal with their school things. It got to the point where she just stopped asking and would call in sick since she didn't trust my boss to actually let her take the day off after promising she could. Sometimes, I hope idiotic managers are reading posts like these and learning not to treat their employees like shit. Genius could probably read this and not recognize it as a description of himself. Well yeah, everyone is the hero of their own story. Genius was mistreated by that evil employee that ruined the whole project. But what happened to Genius when it all fell apart on his watch? I'm sure he blamed it all on the disgruntled employee. Genius. Why didn't she just go over Genius' head for her time off? Why didn't the company try to pay her off for the passwords? Why couldn't they access the paper records anymore? They couldn't have been destroyed since the digital system wasn't finished yet. Even if you win one battle with your immediate supervisor, once you go over their head, they will make your work life a living hell after that. It sounds to me like ex-employee from the story was better off not being there in the end. Can confirm, going above your boss for something, no matter how important, and you're gonna be an ex-employee pretty soon thereafter. I was taking a stupid online elective class the summer I got married. When I signed up for the class, there was apparently a miscommunication between the instructor and the registrar about the date the class was to end, and the syllabus showed that the final exam would be a week later than originally listed. 3 days after my wedding, in the middle of my honeymoon. Drop/shad for summer courses was something like 3 days. So by the time I knew this, it was too late to drop. Still, it was just a music appreciation elective. Surely the professor would understand and let me take the exam early. That's a big nope. I emailed him and asked, as courteously as possible, if I could take the exam 4 days early, after the last class, but before my wedding. To which he replied, no, sorry. Figure it out on your end. What my end? My end is Jamaica. Plane tickets are purchased and the wedding venue is booked. There are about a dozen non-refundable deposits and fees we're talking about here, not to mention, my fiancé. I'm not going through all of that for your stupid music appreciation summer elective. Some people are just ridiculous in their inflexibility. You don't just reschedule a wedding. Edit, for those asking what happened. I contacted the dean's office, but he was on vacation or something that month. There was somebody there who I think was able to give authorization for the registrar to withdraw me from the course. And as I recall, I still got the end of course review, so I gave the instructor a scathing response. This was all 8 years ago, and a somewhat busy time of life, so some of the details are a little hazy. Except for the sentence "figure it out on your end." That one is still burned into my brain by a white-hot rage. It was at this point you called the dean, right? Edited my original post to add the conclusion, since a couple people have asked. Basically, yeah. I love this one. The only better outcome would have been genius getting fired. Trying to cancel a woman's wedding. Get out of here with that weak shit. As someone who just got fired for a pretty messed up reason, and nothing to do with my operational success or ability to do the job with flying colors, and then was asked a week or so later if I could help them because things were falling apart in my department. I love this so much. God bless this woman. This is when you say you'll come back as a contracted consultant for at least triple your hourly rate or a ridiculously high flat rate for a certain period of time. No amount of money is worth working for a crappy boss. I'll take the lower paying job working for a reasonable person every time. This, right here, boys and girls. You become what you want to become, earn as much as you want, have whatever junky experiences you crave, but when you're seasoned, you will only want one thing, a good boss, even at the cost of a pay cut. Well, that's an unusual way to duck two guys at once. That's when she says sure, I can come back, after my wedding and honeymoon, as a contractor for 3x per hour what my regular pay was. I can't believe that idiot actually thought she'll just drop her wedding and honeymoon like that. 1. Custom-built system. 2. Works well. 3. Cheap. Pick 2. The number of times I've seen people quit because their manager expected them to put their minimum wage job over a meaningful life event baffles me. The number of times I've seen people quit because their manager expected them to put their minimum wage job over a meaningful life event baffles me. Dang, that's satisfying. Yup. At work I've spent hours organizing and creating inventories. No one is interested in learning how the system works. When I leave they are going to be screwed. Built a new database for new supervisors. Big new project. Supervisor turns around and lets me go for gaming the sick time system. Apparently using sick days provided wasn't the intent of having sick days. I had the last laugh when they walked me out the door without getting me to add anyone else as an authorized user to the database. Apparently 3 months of work went down the drain, but I never heard a peep from them.